He's right, you really can't see anybody. That's good. I'm picturing everyone naked. Hello, good evening. I'm so glad that I'm last and everybody has had a few cocktails for this conversation. Should be interesting. Go ahead. So the next 6.5 minutes are going to be about STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, or STIs, sexually transmitted infections, yes, and accounting and how that actually works together in my life. How does one become an accounting professor during the day, and then, as my friends affectionately refer to me as, the STD-Whisperer by night, is an interesting story, I'm sure. I followed what I would call a nonlinear path. I think all of us, though, or a lot of us, follow what I would determine or deem a nonlinear path. While we're doing that, though, I think that we often feel like we're failures, or that we haven't succeeded in life when we're trying to compare ourselves to our peers, and when we're wondering where we fall along that spectrum, and if we succeeded, if we've actually achieved success, whatever that success means. So I want to challenge that status quo. I've done that a little bit in following my nonlinear path thus far, and I want to encourage you to do the same. So that is what this message is going to be about. I will start from the beginning of this particular story. At 16 years old, I contracted genital herpes. I am living with herpes. Who says that? Dun, 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 right? So I was shamed by my general practitioner who diagnosed me at the time. I was ostracized from my faith community, and my peers stigmatized me exceedingly. I was made to sleep separately at slumber parties because my friends thought that they were going to contract my infection should they sleep in the same bed as me. High school is a really rough time. It's a cruel rite of passage, I think, that we all go through. And couple that with a stigmatized and highly taboo infection, and you can see how my life really quickly spiraled out of control. I experimented with drugs and alcohol. Even though I was still getting straight A's, my teachers didn't know what to do with me. I was lost. I was angry. I didn't feel like there was anyone I could talk to, and I felt entirely alone, like I was the only person experiencing this, and life was awful. I was really in a spiral. The good news is this is not a sob story or a woe is me kind of conversation. So the next half of this will be a little more uplifting. Deep down, I didn't believe the stigma, the things that you see behind me on the slides, and some of that misconceived notion, and all of the misperceptions and the stigmatized things that people would have you believe about people who have contracted STIs and STDs, that we are all damaged goods, we're dirty, we're trashy. We are basically the monsters of society that people are trying to be wary of and try to avoid. And I didn't believe that, although that is what all of the media was telling me. Not only the media, but my peer groups, friends and family, my community, that was pervasive throughout. So I had something to prove. I chose to do that by pursuing an education. I started at Grand Rapids Community College, so not only am I a professor, but I'm an alum there. And but I didn't have a clue as to what I really wanted to do professionally, even though I knew I wanted to pursue an education. So at first I was going into musical theater. I thought I would be on Broadway or maybe an actress, but I was really terrified that what if I were to become extremely successful and then somebody found out I had herpes? That would ruin my career. So I switched to natural resource management. I loved being outside. And then I finally fell into accounting, of all things, so I was all over the place. I found out I was really good at accounting, so phenomenal, let's go there, let's pursue that, and I did. I transferred my credits to Davenport University, and I graduated with an honors degree, both my BBA and MBA in Honors Professional Accountancy. I started an accounting business while I was working at Davenport, going to school at Davenport during my collegiate career, and then I was offered a job with a Big Four accounting firm right after school, Deloitte Touche. So I had the #1 job in my profession at the time, but I was miserable and hated it. So I transferred to a Fortune 500 company, Stryker Corporation, out of Kalamazoo. Some of you have heard of both of those. Meanwhile, making a whole bunch of money, working 70 hours per week, and in theory, I would have proved my point, that I'm worth something, I'm intelligent, I've achieved success, here I am, look at me. But I was miserable yet again. And still I was lost, and still I felt like I looked at my coworkers and looked around and thought, this is going to be me 30 years from now, standing behind this computer, sitting at some same random desk, And it was incredibly disheartening and depressing. Every Sunday I was depressed, looking forward to Monday, thinking now I have to do this all over again. My boss was going through a divorce. She never saw her friends and family. She never saw her children, was never available for school events. And I thought, that can't be me. There's something else that I'm supposed to be doing. So one day I was walking around Barnes & Noble, and I happened to come across Timothy Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek, which talks about making changes in your life, any kind, career and or otherwise, based on calculated risks. So I knew I wanted to always help people. My thought process was I want to help other people who have contracted an STI or STD. I want them to not have to go through such a painstaking, heartbreaking experience, and for as long as I had to. It took me so long to reconcile all of the stigmatized connotations and associations for people who have STIs with what I really felt about myself. So I thought, how can I do that? I walked out of Barnes & Noble with 4 of the 4 Dummies books, so 4 Dummies on how to launch a website, how to make money online, how to learn search engine marketing, so on and so forth, and taught myself how to do all of it. And then I launched the STD Project. I quit my full-time job, much to my parents' dismay. Poor mom and dad sitting in the audience. They thought I had jumped off a bridge and without a net and were very worried and concerned about me. All of my friends and family really were, understandably so, like, what is Jenelle doing this time? Oh my gosh, this crazy girl. And ever since, though, that's been 4 years in April since the STD Project launched. We've had 5 million views on the website. We have 120,000 views per month in over 200 countries. Recently, I was honored for 40 under 40 business leaders in West Michigan. That's how I came here and was asked to come and speak. But that's not it. It's not a, like, pat my back, exciting. The reason I'm telling you all of this is because I believe that you can follow your passion too. Success is different and is defined differently by each person. And pursuing what is meaningful to you doesn't necessarily mean you have to quit your job and become infamous and the STD lady. That just means that you have to ask yourself the question, what makes you itch, and pursue that.
That was Jenelle Marie Davis. Thank you so much. Wonderful job.